think of listening and its importance, and it sounds obvious. It's like, well, of course, when you're talking, you want someone to be able to listen to you. But the listening part takes effort. It's not something that just naturally happens. I think we actually have to make a decision. We have to decide to participate in that engagement. And so let's talk about it from the perspective of how it makes someone feel, right? If you're in there and you are listening to somebody and you really are involved and you're active, then that creates an environment where there can be a true conversation, right? It's both ways. There's an interaction. And sometimes you don't need to say anything, but there are cues that you can give so that someone then ultimately knows that they're being heard. And that's going to be really important for a lot of things that we can discuss today, which will then shift into how does that apply to other areas. But the importance of listening, of course, is that the fact that that conversation is real. There's something in there that can be tangible, that you can get an outcome from. There's feelings attached. There's emotions that can be driven through being heard. And also things that you can accomplish, things that you can do, things that you now have the ability to answer, things that you're able to engage in. And so when we talk about times when you don't feel heard, when you don't feel that you've been listened to, then in those scenarios, they're usually negative feelings, right? These feelings of being alone, feelings of being neglected, feeling of not being valued, not important. And so when you can create an environment when someone knows that you're listening, it's obvious. They can see it. And if they're not, then it completely changes the dynamic. And so when we go and talk about practicing the concepts of listening and being in the moment, then you can really understand that those conversations, those interactions, those moments become more real than this passive just hearing things. And this active leaning in, listening, I think is going to be much more important to getting positive outcomes, to being able to address challenges and issues. And it's going to give you a much bigger perspective of things that are much deeper than you would get on a superficial level. I usually give the example of an onion, right? The surface of an onion is very glossy, it's slick. You can kind of smell that it's an onion, but until you actually peel that layer back is when you start to actually get the impact of that onion, right? And if you've ever cut an onion, you know that when you get into it, it's more emotional, right? You start to maybe even tear up. You start to feel that intenseness of how much it's impacting you. And as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into that onion, you can feel that impact even more. And so that is an analogy that I would give to just being able to say, hey, look, coming back and being heard, you're going to feel something different than you would on the surface. But it does take work. An onion doesn't just peel itself. It takes effort, it takes skill, it takes practice so that you can do it well and do it in a way in which the outcome of what you want is going to be better for you.